There's a lot of black people out there that just want to know, like, are Australians racist? Like, are they just a bunch of rednecks on a big island, like in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? Well, what up, internet world out there? It's your boy Jermaine, back with another video. And I thought I would make a storytime video. Black in Australia. What up, everyone? Wow. So I was in Australia more than a month ago. And usually when I get back from a trip, especially a trip like where I went to like multiple countries, I always like sit down and make a video talking about, you know, the different places I went to and just talking about the whole experience. And a couple people have called me out and said, yo, you never made a video summing up Australia. You never made a video just breaking down everything that happened, and well, not everything that happened, but like things that happened and your overall experience. And you guys are right, I never did make a video talking about it because Australia was one of those countries that just took me over the head, you know? So I just didn't even, once I got back to the US, I didn't even make a video. I stayed in the US for like 3 weeks and didn't even talk about Australia. And I honestly, I didn't really even tell a lot of people that I went to Australia. But Australia, honestly, I felt that I left Australia with something that I didn't go to Australia with. And I also felt that I learned a lot from Australia from this past trip. I learned a whole lot, and this is what I wanted to tell you guys about in this video. So first off, Black in Australia. Now usually I don't title my videos like Black here or Black there or Black this. I don't usually just do that. But the reason why I'm gonna do it for Australia is just because I've received so many comments, Instagram DMs, Facebook messages, YouTube comments, just a lot of messages from black people, and not just black people from the US, black people from all over. And they just want to know, what was my experience like in Australia? Like, are Australians racist? This is the #1 question I saw pop up. Are Australians racist? Are Australians racist? And honestly, my experience, I would have to say that Australians they're not really racist. This is just what I feel, just from meeting different people, is I didn't really feel that they're racist at all. I must point out, I did stay in Australia for, it was like 28 days or 29 days. Pretty much I flew to Australia on January 31st and I left on February 28th. And I remember leaving on February 28th. That was the longest February 28th of my life. Like, no joke, because you leave Australia and you fly back to the US and it's February 28th when you leave Australia, and then once you get back to the US it's still February 28th, and it's like early in the afternoon in the US once you arrive back. So, and then also when you left Australia, it was like, once again, it was earlier in the afternoon. So you just like, you gain like a day when you fly from Australia going back to the US. But I thought that I would just talk about some of the other things that I've noticed about Australia, because I thought Australia was a very, very unusual country. When I travel, I mainly stay in backpacker destinations. I mainly stay in hostels. I mainly go to places where backpackers are gonna go. And one thing I noticed about Australia, like big time, is a lot of people go to Australia from Europe and they go to work. And when you are backpacking and when you're traveling and you're meeting people who are traveling and they're backpacking and they're in that same mode, it's really easy to talk to people, it's really easy to mingle with people. But when you're backpacking and you're traveling and you're meeting other people and they're working, it's a completely different experience. First off, I didn't see many black people in Australia. Maybe I saw like 30 black people the entire trip. Did not see many black people at all. Other things that I did when I was in Australia, if you don't know me, one thing I really, really enjoyed doing in San Francisco is riding an electric skateboard. And then on this trip, I actually brought my electric skateboard with me just because I knew I wasn't going to be going from country to country. This trip was mainly just staying in Australia the majority of the time, so I brought my electric skateboard with me. There's usually electric skateboard meetups in majority of cities around the world. In Sydney, there's a lot of electric skateboard meetups. This was a great opportunity to meet Australians, people that actually live in Australia, because basically the people live in hostels or from other countries. So at this skateboard meetup, I had a blast, man. These Australians that I met were just awesome, amazing people. But the only problem is the skateboard meetups usually happen about once or twice a week, and the Australians that go to the skateboard meetups, they have have a life, like they have to work, and you know, they only have a couple days off, and this is just what a lot of people do on the weekends. Just like kind of like the same thing in San Francisco. Like a lot of people just don't ride like during the week because they have a job during the week, or maybe they don't live in the city, maybe they live outside of the city, so they're just not gonna have a lot of free time to ride. So the Australians that I met at the electric skateboard meetups were just awesome, incredible people, and honestly I wish I could have hung out with them longer, but that's just how it is. Like everybody has other things to do. You just can't skateboard all the time. I totally get it. Now, different places that I traveled to around Australia. So Sydney was very diverse. Well, very diverse for Australian standards, because Australia, for the most part, this is a very, very, very white country. And what I mean by white, I'm not trying to be racist when I say this, but I mean like just white. I noticed that lots of like white Australians, lots of Europeans, and lots of either Japanese or Chinese. And when I say Japanese or Chinese, they're still included in the whole like white category. I did not see many dark-skinned people at all from basically any countries. I didn't really notice many dark-skinned Asians, like, you know, representing countries like Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand. I mean, when I talk about Africans, like I literally saw like just maybe I can count on two hands the amount of Africans I saw in the whole country of Australia. Did not see many Muslims. Did not see many. I mean, it's just not a very diverse place. Not to say anything negative about the country of Australia. If you're watching this and if you're Australian, please don't take offense to what I'm about to say here. But out of every country that I've ever been to in the world, I've never ever in my life met so many weird people. And when I say that I've never met so many weird people, I'm not talking about Australians here. I'm talking about the people that I met in Australia. And a lot of these people were from like countries like Europe. After meeting so many people in hostels and just meeting different people from different countries, met a lot of people from like Southern America, like Chile and Argentina. And I've also met a handful of people from countries such as Poland. I remember meeting this one gentleman, I forget his name, he was from Eastern Europe, but I forget his country, I forget his name. But basically he had this job where he was catching chickens. His job was to catch chickens, and he explained to me his job, and he said when you catch chickens, you have to catch them really fast, because when you catch them, you have to catch them fast, you have to throw them in this pen, and if you don't do this fast enough, they'll poop on you. And when enough chickens poop on you, you just don't want chickens to poop on you, basically. He's telling me, you know, you grab the chicken, you grab 5 chickens at one time, you just throw them in this pen, they make all this noise, you have to do it really, really fast, and you just do this all day. And when he told me he made 400 Australian dollars a week, and he was just excited, like just super ecstatic about making 400 Australian dollars a week catching chickens. And 400 Australian dollars is about 300 US dollars a week. Okay, super excited about that. Now back in San Francisco, to make 300 US dollars a day is not that hard. I mean, it's you could pull that off on a normal day in San Francisco. You know, after listening to this guy's story, you know, about catching chickens and how back in his country, you know, a job making 400 Australian dollars a week is just not the easiest thing to come by. You know, I get back to San Francisco, and the first thing I do is I just want to grind all the time. But whoa. Something's not making sense here. I go to Australia, and something changes me. But I've been to other countries, like all throughout Africa and all throughout Asia, and like something haven't like clicked in my head. Like I don't know, but like once I got back to San Francisco after this Australian trip, I remember looking at work completely different. Like I remember looking at making money completely different. Like, and it's really weird because I went to Australia and this changed me. Like I've been to other countries where people make way less than 400 Australian dollars a week. I've been to countries where people make, you know, less than 300 US dollars a month. But for some reason, I go to Australia and I hear about people making roughly $300 a week, and something clicks in my head, and like I get back to the US and like things are totally different for me. I'm like, yo, let's make some money, let's grind, let's do this. I don't get it, but like something happened when I went to Australia. Like something like changed my hustle game or something. Like I don't get it. I can't exactly explain, but like in Australia, it wasn't really the worst thing in the world, guys. It really wasn't. But I must point out one place that I did go to in Australia that I thought that it was just the whitest place I've ever been to ever. And this is Byron Bay, Australia. Now, when I say that this is the whitest place I've ever been to, I mean to say that I was there for about 8 days and I saw like 4 other black people. Now, I saw a handful of Aboriginals. The Aboriginals, maybe I saw like 7 Aboriginals. And the Aboriginals, they call me brother. They're like, what's up, my brother? What's up, man? What's up, man? Man, you one of us, man. You cool. Like, the Aboriginals are really, really cool. Now, where to find Aboriginals? Well, I didn't see any Aboriginals in Sydney or Melbourne. Byron Bay is definitely a spot where I found Aboriginals. Okay, so back to Byron Bay, the whitest place on earth. Now, once again, I don't mean to say this like in a racist way. Like, I just don't mean to say this in a way like that. But what I mean by this is, it was just very... it wasn't a lot of culture. It just wasn't a lot of outside culture. Now, how was I treated here? I wasn't treated bad at all. Like, I was treated just like a normal person. I rode around on my electric skateboard majority of the time, and I had no problems when electric skateboarding is technically illegal in the country of Australia. Everyone in that little village knew that I was riding around like a madman, and it was just amazing. Also, when I was traveling in Byron Bay, Australia, I saw one of the most amazing sights I've ever seen in my life, and this is at the Byron Bay Lighthouse. If you're ever in Australia, go to Byron Bay. If you ever go to Byron Bay, go to the lighthouse. The most beautiful sight I've ever seen in my life, yo. Like, literally, the most beautiful sight I've ever seen. And if I never went to Byron Bay, I never would have saw this most epic, beautiful sight. Sometimes you have to go to those off the beaten path places to find those hidden gems. Sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone to find that next epic thing that changes your life. And I feel that this trip to Australia, I really stepped out of my comfort zone quite a bit, because this was a country that I traveled to, and Australia was not my favorite country that I've traveled to. However, I learned a lot of things from Australia, and I feel that I've changed as a person from my trip to Australia, and I would like to go back to Australia. Now, if I do go back to Australia, I probably won't stay as long as I did this past trip. And if I go back to Australia later this year, which I really think I will go back to Australia later this year if I don't go to a lot of other countries. I definitely want to check out Perth and want to check out the west coast of Australia. Australia is a very, very large country. Black in Australia. Black people, go. Check it out. Go to Australia. I remember I met this one black guy near the Opera House in Australia. I don't know, he was really, really short with me, you know. Didn't really want to talk too much, but I don't know, maybe I was a little intimidating about all of my travels, and he was just like, yeah, I'm here, I'm there, here, I'm gonna go back to the US, and bye, peace out. He was kind of like that, you know. I don't know, that was just another black dude I met there. Didn't really meet that many other black people in Australia. I think I met like 3 black people total in Australia, like, for real. Like, it was just one of those places, like even traveling Europe, I feel that Europe is far more cultured than Australia. And what I mean by culture, like just other races and other people, like I just didn't really see like many people at all. And you know, I'm not making this video to say that every place I go to, I need to see black people and I need to be around black people. No. But Australia, it just sticks out like quite a bit. Like it literally sticks out quite a bit. I've never been to mainland China, but I'm very curious, like, China versus Australia, like what black in China versus Australia. I don't know. Anyway, Australia. So it was one night one night I actually met this amazing Australian, this awesome dude. So I'm literally sitting on the beach and I'm scratching my head because I'm kind of lonely. I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do. I'm in Byron Bay and there's this sign right beside me that says no alcohol on the beach. And there's all these people sitting around because there's this guy playing the guitar and there's all these people drinking. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of bored, I'm not drinking, and what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I'm in this freaking little village and I'm all alone, and yeah. So I'm sitting there hanging out, playing with my dreadlocks, got my Birkenstocks on. This Australian guy comes up, sits down, he's like, yo, what up, man? What are you up to? What's going on? I was like, oh, just chilling on the beach. He's like, where you from? I was like, oh, I live in California, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yo, there's this place over there that's got some reggae music playing. You want to go listen to some reggae music? So I was like, yeah, cool. This is some random Australian guy that like just saw me sitting on the beach and invited me to go to reggae. Yeah, I'm totally down. Let's do it. We go over to this spot. We have a couple drinks. From there, we go over to the beach, hang out by the beach. They're playing some music. It's the sunset. And then he's like, hey, man, I live on this farm and we grow all sorts of crops and all sorts of, all sorts of crops and all sorts of, awesome things that awesome things on my farm. You want to come back and hang out. Ended up going back to his house. He lived about 30 minutes away, met his landlord, met a couple of his roommates, hung out, got to talk about all sorts of things with this house full of Australians. It was amazing. It was amazing. This was just a random night on the beach. Like, I think I was on the beach at like 6 p.m. and we met, and then after that at his house, I remember passing out on his couch that night. The next morning he drove me back to Byron Bay, which was like I say a 30-minute drive. Also, I remember the night before when we were driving from Byron Bay to his house, we picked up this hitchhiker, and he was from South Africa actually, and we like drove him, like we picked him up and like he got in the car, we drove him, I don't know, halfway down, and then he got out. Like, it was just super interesting. Like, that's hitchhiking is very, very popular in Australia. And that was just an amazing experience. Like, I literally met like a local. I thought this was one really, really cool experience. Like, met a local, got to meet like other locals, got to go to an Australian house, got to go to an Australian farm, met some hitchhikers. I mean, it's just a really, really fun experience. And this is why this is why I want more young people. This is why I want more black people. This is why I want more people from the US, more people around the world. This is why I want more people to travel. Because when people tell stories like the story I just told you right now of the Australian guy who I met on the beach and we ran around, we did this, we went there, we did this, this is what makes the world a better place. Like, this is what makes the world a better place. When people of different races come together, not when we say we want to separate ourselves and we don't want to do this. No, coming together is what makes the world a better place. Not for us to say, look, I don't want to be with this, I don't want to be around these people, and I don't want to be around these people. Guys, look, go out there, get you a passport, book you a flight, go take that adventure. It will change your life. Like, for real, it will change your life. Traveling has greatly changed my life. And this was my experience in Australia. Black in Australia, honestly. It was fun. Like it wasn't the easiest trip. Honestly, it was not the easiest trip. But at the end of this trip, I definitely don't regret it. I definitely don't regret it at all. Don't regret it at all. Black in Australia, do it. Do it. Do it. I recommend it. Like, do it. Like, I would say if you go to Australia, like, solo Australia is going to be more difficult than if you go with someone else. And I'm a solo traveler. I've been to, as of the making of this video, I've been to 51 countries, and I'd say if I go back to Australia, I would love to go with someone else. So anyone watching this video later this year, you want to go check out Western Australia, hit me up, because like when I go back, I would love to go with someone else, because I think that if I would have traveled Australia with someone else, it would have made my Australian trip just completely different. Like, I think it would have been one of my like favorite places that I've been to, because the cities in Australia are freaking amazing. The food, amazing. Like, Australia is just a really, really nice country for the most part. But I just didn't really meet that many amazing people. But that one Australian dude was super awesome. If you watching this video, homie, because like we had a miscommunication. Like, I was supposed to add him on Instagram, and I added him on Instagram, and then I couldn't find him on Instagram, and like, I don't know. So like, yeah, if you're watching this from Australia, yo, hit me up in the comments below. Like, I'll come back to Byron Bay and we'll have to like electric skateboard. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap this video up. I'm just been going on and on and on, but I want to talk about my Australian experience as a black person, because I know there's a lot of black people out there that just want to know, like, are Australians racist? Like, are they just a bunch of rednecks on a big island, like in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? Yeah, but anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and peace out, yo. Voila.